on April 26, 1986, a city of 50,000 people went to sleep and never came home again. Just 3 kilometers from the Chornobyl nuclear plant, Pripyat was a modern, thriving Soviet city. But on that fateful day, its story ended. At 1:23 in the morning, Reactor 4 unleashing a radioactive cloud 400 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. For 36 hours, Soviet authorities kept the world and their own people in the dark. Silence was their first response to catastrophe. Then came the evacuation. They were told it was temporary, that they would be back in 3 days. They packed a single small bag, leaving behind warm meals on tables, open books on beds, and toys scattered across kindergarten floors. They never returned. Today, Pripyat is a ghost city, frozen in time. In its silent schools, textbooks lie open to unfinished lessons. The iconic yellow Ferris wheel, brand new and set to open just days after the disaster, stands rusting, a monument to a future that never was. It was never used, not even once. Were sent into the radioactive heart of the zone. Many were soldiers, ordered to shovel intensely radioactive debris off the reactor roof by hand. Their shifts lasted only 90 seconds before they absorbed a lethal dose of radiation. They were heroes, but their sacrifice was often a closely guarded secret. In 1986, standing near it for just 300 seconds was a death sentence. Even today, it remains one of the deadliest objects on Earth, and it will stay that way for thousands of years. The legacy of Chornobyl is immense. Some historians, and even Mikhail Gorbachev himself, believe the disaster and the cover-up fatally weakened the Soviet Union, leading to its collapse. It's a warning, a memory, and a scar on the world that will last for generations. In the silent, frostbitten lands of northern Ukraine lies a city frozen in time. Pripyat, a ghost city, entombed in a shroud of radioactive fallout. Before its demise, it was a symbol of Soviet atomic pride, a vibrant, modern metropolis, built for the workers of the nearby Chornobyl Nuclear Power Plant. It was a city of the future, with a young population, wide avenues, and the promise of a bright tomorrow. But on April 26, 1986, that future was annihilated in a single, catastrophic moment. This is the story of Pripyat, a city sacrificed to a nuclear nightmare, its echoes still resonating through the decades. The night was quiet at the Vladimir Ilyich Lenin Nuclear Power Plant, just a few kilometers from Pripyat. Inside reactor number 4, a late-night safety test was underway. It was a test designed to simulate a station blackout, a test that had been poorly planned and executed by an undertrained crew. A series of critical errors, combined with inherent design flaws in the RBM K-type reactor, created a volatile and uncontrollable situation. At precisely 1:23 a.m., a massive power surge triggered to devastating explosions. The first blew the 2,000-ton steel lid clean off the reactor core. The second, a more powerful thermal explosion, spewed a colossal plume of radioactive material 9 kilometers into the atmosphere. The very air caught fire, glowing with an eerie, ethereal blue light from the ionized atoms. The core was exposed, burning at over 2,000 degrees Celsius. A man-made volcano unleashing an invisible poison upon the world. The disaster had begun. In Pripyat, residents were woken by the sound of the explosion, a deep, earth-shaking rumble. Many saw the strange, beautiful glow in the sky and went to a railway bridge to get a better view. Completely unaware, they were being showered with lethal doses of radiation. Firefighters were the first to arrive at the plant without any protective gear against radiation, believing they were fighting a simple electrical fire. They were heroes who walked directly into a nuclear inferno. One by one, they succumbed to acute radiation sickness, their bodies overwhelmed by an enemy they couldn't see, taste, or feel. As dawn broke, the Soviet state apparatus kicked into motion, not to warn its citizens, but to conceal the truth. While children played in the streets and life went on as normal, military helicopters began flying over the burning reactor, dropping sand, clay, and lead in a desperate attempt to smother the fire and contain the fallout. The air in Pripyat was thick with a metallic taste, a telltale sign of iodine-131. But the 50,000 residents remained oblivious to the mortal danger they were in. 36 hours after the explosion, the silence was finally broken. A radio announcement, cold and official, crackled to life in every home. It ordered a temporary evacuation of Pripyat. Residents were told to bring only essential documents, a few personal belongings, and some food, with the assurance they would return in 3 days. It was a lie, a necessary deception to prevent panic. In just over 3 hours, a fleet of over 1,000 buses, stretching for miles, emptied the city. People left their homes with dinner still on the table, laundry hanging out to dry, and family photos on the walls. They left their pets behind, their mournful cries echoing through the empty streets as the last bus pulled away. They never returned. Pripyat became a ghost town overnight, a perfect, modern city abandoned in an instant. What they left behind is a city frozen in 1986. Today, Pripyat is a haunting time capsule. The iconic Ferris wheel in the amusement park, set to open just days after the disaster, stands as a skeletal monument to a joy that never was. Bumper cars rust in their arena, silent witnesses to the abrupt end of childhood innocence. Inside the school's textbooks lie open on desks covered in a thick layer of radioactive dust. Gas masks litter the floor of a classroom, a chilling reminder of the Cold War era and the disaster that unfolded. In the hospital, the personal effects of the first firefighters remain in the basement, still dangerously radioactive. Dolls are propped up in cribs, their vacant eyes staring into nothingness. Propaganda posters celebrating Soviet achievement peel from the walls, their promises of a glorious future, now a bitter irony. Every object tells a story of a life interrupted, a future stolen. This is the city's silent, sorrowful legacy. To contain the unimaginable horror at the plant, the Soviet Union mobilized an army of nearly 600,000 people, known as the liquidators. They were firefighters, soldiers, miners, engineers, and scientists. Their mission was one of biblical proportions: to clean up the most contaminated place on Earth. Miners dug a tunnel beneath the melting reactor core to install a cooling system, working in extreme heat and radiation. Soldiers, known as biorobots, were sent onto the roof of the reactor building to clear away chunks of highly radioactive graphite. They could only work for 40 to 90 seconds at a time before their lifetime dose of radiation was exceeded. They scraped and shoveled, running for their lives against an invisible clock. These men were hailed as heroes, but they paid a terrible price. Thousands died from radiation-induced illnesses in the years that followed, and many more suffered from chronic health problems. They were the human shield that protected Europe from an even greater catastrophe. Deep within the ruins of Reactor 4, a terrifying discovery was made. The molten mixture of nuclear fuel, control rods, and concrete had burned through the reactor floor and solidified into a mass resembling a massive piece of lava. They called it the elephant's foot. In 1986, it was the most deadly object on the planet. Its radioactivity was so intense that it would fog camera film. The elephant's foot is a physical manifestation of the disaster's uncontrollable power. A slumbering monster in the heart of the sarcophagus. Over the decades, its power has waned, but it remains a lethal testament to the moment humanity lost control of the atom. It will remain dangerously radioactive for tens of thousands of years. As humans fled, nature began its slow, relentless reclamation of the Chornobyl exclusion zone. Forests have swallowed the streets of Pripyat. Trees grow through the floors of buildings, their roots cracking the concrete. Moss carpets the floors of abandoned apartments. Wildlife, free from human interference, has returned in surprising abundance. Herds of Przewalski's horses, a rare and endangered species, now roam the area. Wolves, lynx, deer, and wild boar thrive. The zone has become an accidental wildlife sanctuary, a paradox of life flourishing in a place synonymous with death. But this is not a simple story of nature's triumph. The radioactivity is still present, embedded in the soil, the plants, and the animals themselves. It is a poisoned paradise, a complex and ongoing ecological experiment whose long-term consequences are still not fully understood. The legacy of Chernobyl is one of profound loss, human sacrifice, and enduring lessons. The disaster released 400 times more radiation than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, contaminating vast areas of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. It exposed the fatal flaws of a secretive, authoritarian system and became a catalyst for the eventual collapse of the Soviet Union. It forever changed the global conversation around nuclear safety, leading to new regulations and a public distrust of nuclear power that persists to this day. Pripyat stands as the world's most poignant monument to the hubris of humanity. It is a warning, written in concrete and decay, of the catastrophic price of failure. It reminds us that some mistakes can never be undone, and that their echoes will haunt us for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the heart of the exclusion zone compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into history's most significant events.